How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. As we're beginning, just a huge favor. You see that right there below the bottom. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know that you're here. Tell us where you're joining us from. Maybe one thing that you're excited about that you feel life and momentum on. What we love to do on these, if you've never joined us for a Mentor Monday, is to impart, encourage you, and give you some practical tools to help you as you are venturing out and starting your own coaching practice, starting new chapters in your life, and all of those things. We want to give you practical tools, and we also want to give you great inspiration to help you move forward. So, just a huge favor, jump in right here and tell us where you are joining us from and say hello to us because we're not interested in just simply being talking heads. I'm going to grab my little clicker because I'm going to need it a lot today, actually, with some of the things that we're going to be sharing with you. I'm going to pause just for a second, just because I know that I'm at least 30 seconds ahead of you so that you can say hello. There is Joan joining us from Bakersfield, California. Welcome, Joan. So excited for another Mentor Monday. And I am too. I actually think that tonight is going to be better than all three of the weeks so far in this series called The Vision Led Coach. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback about it over the last couple of weeks. And so I'm excited about continuing that. And along the way, before I even get started and do anything, let me say this to all of the moms who celebrated your amazingness this weekend. It's not enough to celebrate you just one day. I want to say thank you to all of the moms who are out there that are watching, whether it be in this present moment or in the future. Every day of your life should be Mom's Day because you literally make the world go round in about every way possible. I was raised by an incredibly loving, powerful woman named Barbara, and my wife. I also married what I feel like was the other incredible, most powerful woman that I've ever met in my life, which was my wife, Jessica. And so I love you both. And for any of you who are watching, I just want to thank you for being moms, doing everything that you do, and literally filling the planet, holding the planet together, giving us hope for the future and our children and all of those other kinds of things, everything that you guys bring to the table in every kind of way. Um, I would be lost without my mom. I would be completely lost again if I didn't have my wife and her being the other half of me, like literally, like this is a partnership, right? An equal partner in my life, in my ambitions, helping me in those kinds of ways, while at the same time being who she really is for my children. And I have three women that we're raising up to be powerful women in the world. And so I'm thankful for all of the models of all of that we've had around in our life and definitely directly influencing their genes, literally, which is amazing. There's Monica joining us from Highland, New York. Looking forward to Vision Part 3. Thank you. Harvey's joining us from South Florida. Just set up an appointment to discuss writing articles for a sales professional association. Cool. Selah joining us from Los Angeles and first time watching. Oh, wait. Yeah, it is Salem. Christopher, who's joining us from Augusta, Georgia. So anybody else that would like to say hello to us, we welcome you. And we're excited. And hopefully that last email actually went out to tell everybody that we were getting ready to go live. You never can tell. Sometimes those things kind of get stuck along the way. So what have we been talking about for the last couple of weeks? Well, last couple of weeks, we've been in this series called The Vision Led Coach. And in the first couple of weeks, we talked about the exponential power of vision and actually how you really begin thinking about vision. And let me give you another really quick definition, our working definition for this series of vision, which is a picture of the future, which could be, should be, and must be. You can understand that all of us can have a dream, a picture of the future that could happen, but not all of us have moved into this realm of something should happen and it must happen. And when we say that it should happen and it must happen, then what we're really talking about is that we're participating with the vision, that picture that we see. And last week we talked into some detail about how you initiate that, but where do you really start? And let me say hello to a couple more people really quickly. There's Lynn joining us from Vermont. Hey, Lynn. And there's Tara joining us from Vegas. Welcome, Tara. And Simply Tamara from Central Florida. Awesome. And so this week, really, what happened is I started working on today. And what I really believe is that this actually has to be split up into two, because there were two really important components that I really believe that I couldn't cover in one session. So what we'll do is that we'll finish it next week, but you're not going to feel like you're missing anything except that because you're going to have your work cut out for you today. When it comes to living into a vision, really it begins with you. It starts the change because we're wanting to see change in and around our life. Because what we really understand with vision is that vision means that right now my life does not look like it should. The world does not look like it should look right now. It has the potential of looking that way, but right now we're caught in the tension. We're kind of like in this hallway between both of these realms, and there's a tension. And the more that you can get in touch with a tension, the greater degree of the possibility that you're actually going to do something about it. You need to feel that tension. But a big part of this tension and actually living into this vision to actually operate, to move towards it, to do the things that we need to do to make it come into reality is going to require something of us. And it's going to require us showing up in life in a different way. That's why, actually, before our vision can happen, see, there's a reason why the vision hasn't already happened. And honestly, there's a main character in the role of vision. We haven't put two and two together. The main character in the role of vision is actually us, because it's our vision. And if it's going to happen, then it's going to actually have to happen through us, the way that we envision and the intentionality that we have in our life to move towards it. So before the world can change, like I want the world to change, but really before any of those things change and we come into that picture, before we change the picture means that we have to change. But I'm going to share a couple of statistics with you that probably you maybe have never heard before. And that first one is really this, is that less than 5% of people are actually living into vision, that they actually have a vision and that they are actually living purposefully towards that vision. Because it's really important for us to understand something here. Vast majority of people do not have a vision, and if they do, they're not living into it. And there's a big reason why, and it's because of what's going on inside here. Because if there's going to be external change always follows internal change. It means that something has to happen to us. But the reality is that most people out walking the planet, sucking up air, consuming resources and everything else, get the same or the similar results every year of their life. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't have some small changes that are happening. It doesn't mean that no one is changing at all, because I do believe human beings change. You know, we can probably all think about certain views and opinions and different things that we have in our life. But can we look at our life and see something that drastically shifted our perspective and moved us towards the thing that the way that we envisioned our life? Most people would have to admit that they've kind of, if they've had a climb in their life, that it may only be like 3 to 5 to 6 to 10 to maybe 15 or 20 degrees. And if we go back in life, if we go back to a younger version of ourselves, maybe that 18-year-old version, maybe that college version, that 20-something version, at what percentage do you think that incline has actually taken place in your life? How much have you, when it comes to the big picture in your life, what you dreamed of, what you really thought that your life would actually look like, what percentage towards that have you moved? And for some of us, we might be able to see at least qualitatively, maybe quantitatively in our life, some changes, but is it a drastic change? And I would argue that the vast majority of people don't see a significant change in their life. They just kind of see small progressive changes over their life. The other thing is that people aren't typically experiencing substantial change in their life. So they see maybe something that looks a little bit more towards that picture, but like internally, them as a person, they don't really change a ton. And so the reality is that if external change follows internal change, then what we'd have to say is that the reason why we're not seeing the world like we want it to be, what we hope to see, is because maybe we haven't caught up with our own transformation, and maybe we haven't been intentional enough. Because as I said, less than 5% of people are living a vision-led life. We're going to do a really quick test, and I don't want you to think this is a setup, but this is a really good test of whether or not you're living a vision-led life. And I'm just going to ask you like 3 questions, and I don't want you to put it in the comments because this is a no shame zone, okay? All right, so here's the 3 questions. Here's question number 1. Have you written out a life plan? And if you have, what is it? Have you written out that plan of your life? Right now, at whatever age that you're at, if we could fast forward and see your life at like age 80, age 90, now you got grandkids and all those other things. Have you already written out what that plan is? What does that picture look like? Have you already written that out and thought about it in expressed detail? And where can you track? Because if I said, have you written it out? If so, what is it? And where are you tracking? Are you on track exactly with what you believe that picture is? And I'd say that almost no one that I've ever met in my life can say, yes, I've written out a life plan. Well, if you haven't written out a life plan, we'll go a little bit easier. If you haven't written a life plan, have you written out a 10-year plan? And if so, what is that 10-year plan look like? In explicit detail. What does that vision look like? And what does that plan? What does that picture actually look like? And if we and where are you tracking on your 10-year plan? I've met one person in my life that had a 10-year plan. One person. In all these years of living and coaching, I've met one person who had a 10-year plan in their life. Now, we'll go a little bit easier. If you haven't done a 10-year plan, have you written out a 1-year plan? And if so, what is it? And where are you tracking with regard to that? Now, again, I'm telling you, this is not a setup at all, and I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. What I am saying is it's pretty much 100% if we can't answer any of these things in the affirmative that we're not really vision led. We don't really have a picture of what that future looks like. And it's actually causing us a lot of pain and heartache and a lot of problems. I'm going to remind you of a quote that I said a couple of weeks ago, which is this one by Andy Stanley, where he says, everybody ends up somewhere in life, and a few people end up somewhere on purpose. What I want you to understand is that as I'm saying these things, when I say 10-year plan, when I say a 5-year plan, and I'm saying a 1-year plan, I'm not talking about activities and goals. So if any of you said, oh, I've got a 1-year plan and I've got my goals, well, you misunderstood the assignment, so I'm correcting it right now. And hopefully nobody's filling things in the chat or whatever, but I don't want to upset anybody. But if you have a 5 or a 10-year plan or a 1-year plan and it's goal-based, that is not a vision. Goals and visions are not the same. Activities and visions are not the same. Because a vision is not the same as setting a goal, because you can actually accomplish a goal and not really have a vision. What do you mean by that? Well, let's think about this. I'm gonna help you use your noggin on this and picture this. How you like that? How many of you know someone that you were in high school with, and all they talked about was, one day I'm gonna be rich, one day I'm gonna make $1 million or whatever, and by gosh, as you got older, you've met that person and they have done exactly what they said that they were going to do back when you were in high school. And you always knew. They probably wrote it in the high school yearbook, most likely to be a millionaire or something like that. But you meet them now, and I give my age away because I'm happy to tell people that I'll turn 48 years old. Some of you are a little bit older and younger. But let's fast forward and we see these people. Maybe they live in our community. Maybe we just see them on Facebook. And you're like, they did exactly what they said they were going to do. But they look like they aged 30 years. They look like their hair fell out prematurely and not just because it was a natural genetic occurrence. They have major health issues that are going on in their life. Their relationship with their kids is non existent. Their relationship with their spouse is non existent. They've been through multiple marriages. Some of these people, and we can kind of think about it. Let's think about whether it was somebody who had a dream to be famous, and then they got caught up into all kinds of legal trouble after they got all the money and the fame that they thought that they would get, or they did some kind of domestic violence thing, or like we're surprised when we hear these things. We also hear some of these athletes, some of these super athletes who get multi-million-dollar contracts. They're making tens of millions of dollars every year. They turn 30, they go into retirement, and then they're broke within 5 years. Like this is a major statistic. Within 5 years, the average professional athlete who's made millions of dollars goes completely broke, and now they've got legal troubles, and they usually, with legal troubles, ends up coming family troubles and sometimes a lot of other things that kind of come along with that. Here's what I can say about all of those people and everything that I was just describing. Goals and activities are not the same as vision. What do I mean? What do I mean by that? What I'm really saying in this is that you've got people that are possessed by goals in many cases, and even the way to get there. Many people achieve their goal and they achieve their dream, but the picture of their life afterward is not anything like what they thought it would look like. They didn't have this picture at all. I guarantee you, the 30 somethings that have lost all of their tens of millions of dollars as a professional athlete, and they have broken marriages, and they don't have a home anymore, and everything's kind of legally like bound up and everything. I guarantee you, when they were a teenager, they were not picturing their life finishing up like this. They didn't. That picture that they had in their mind with the goal thought that everything would take care of itself. But that's a person who had a dream and a goal, and they had an ambition and they worked on it, but they didn't actually have a vision. Imagine if they would have had a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a life plan, a true vision. What does that look like? Because it's all encompassing. You know why? Because your goal is not the same as a vision, because a vision actually takes into account what your relationships look like when you become an adult. It takes into account what your relationship with your spouse is going to look like when you're in your 50s. It takes into account what your relationship with your children are going to be from the time that they are 1 till they are 71. A vision does those kinds of things. A vision prepares for a future that is going to involve your grandkids and their grandkids. That's what a vision actually looks like. And even though people have achieved massive things, sometimes given things away, most people actually, if they don't get lost in achieving their goal, they get lost in the activities that are involved in achieving that goal. Like what do I mean by that? Well, the activity of parenting. That's what a lot of people get stuck in. People get stuck in the activity of marriage, the things that you've got to do. They get lost in the activity of paying bills. They get lost in the activity of keeping up. Sometimes people get lost in just the everyday activity of upkeeping your body with regard to what are you working out? Are you exercising? Are you feeding yourself? Are you showering? Are you relieving yourself in the bathroom? And how's that going? I know that sounds terrible. I'm just making sure that you're not asleep. But the reality is that people get caught up in activity all the time. The activity of making money, the activities of it's required to do the things that you are doing. Now, here's the thing that I'd say about that is that a lot of times you get lost in goals and activities. And you know why people get lost in their goals and their activities? Because they don't have a why. When you don't know your why, when you lose your why, you don't realize is that it's your why that actually aligned you and made you normal and where you're at. So that what ends up happening is that why most people are unsatisfied in their lives is that they don't know what's most important, which is their why. So they're out of alignment and they simply do activities and maybe accomplish a goal or two along the way, but they don't actually fulfill their purpose. See, this is the important thing for us to understand. It's the reason why people end up in dead end careers, dead end jobs, dead end relationships, everything else, because they don't really live for a vision. It's why people sometimes get so stuck in making money that they feel like they can't actually stop doing the activities that they're doing because they're going to lose what little thing they have right now. Like, what keeps people working in a dead end job and a dead end career? What that activity, it's like they feel like they've worked themselves into a hole and now they can't say no to the thing that they're doing. They do the same thing with relationships. They do the same thing with anything that is unsatisfied in their life. They can't stop the activity because they feel like they'll lose what little thing that they have left in their life. This is a person who has no vision. This is a person who has lost hope, or they've lost a semblance of what that picture could actually look like, and don't realize that they are the biggest character. They are the main character in their story, and they don't know what to do about it. I don't know if this is striking a nerve with any of you. And I hope that it's not offensive in any kind of way, because what I want you to really get and understand out of this is that if you really can get latched onto your why, if you can paint the picture, if you can get clear about the picture, and if I have your commitment to actually doing something about this, that you know that you're the biggest character in your story, not the job that you're working, not paying the bills, not the tax person, not government, not anybody else, that I understand that I am the biggest contributor to my story. I am the main character. I've been given the pen in my life, and I am not abdicating responsibility for fulfilling the vision in my life. If you can really grasp that and grab a hold of it and get aligned with what your vision is, you can actually live into what it is. You can get aligned into your why. Because what happens is that when you lose your why, you know what you do? You keep doing what you're doing, even if it doesn't fulfill your purpose. And this is what a lot of us get stuck doing. We lose our why. You would not believe the countless people over the last 20 years that I have talked to, people who have succeeded and done great things. You're looking at them and you're like, they got everything. They got the car. Like, I've literally had people, saw them drive up in their fancy convertible with the top down, sit down in front of me, distraught, and they said, I don't even know what my why is, Paul. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Could you please give me some purpose in my life? Help me find purpose in my life. Can you imagine giving that much? Like, I've watched it, the stories that I have with people who are nearing retirement age that have bank accounts and success and everything else and pensions. And we're talking about people who have done significant things that have sat across from me and said, I need to find my why again. Like, it has no point. It has no meaning. It has nothing. These are people who, even as they were going along the way, didn't realize that what they were doing, the activities that they were doing, didn't actually fulfill a purpose, but they kept doing them. See, what we understand is that when you do know your why, you know what you get permission to do? You start actually taking control of your life again, because you can freely stop or change activities that aren't helping you accomplish your vision. Hey, psst, psst, this is for those of you who are stuck in a dead end job and a career, and you keep acting like you can't stop doing what you're doing because now something else is going to fall apart. Hey, guess what? If you know your why, you can quit that job. If you know what your real why, what that picture is, you can stop some of the things that you're doing. You can quit putting your vision as a side project over here, because that's where it lives for most people. It's a side project, it's a dream, but honestly, it's not truly a vision until we take ownership over it and we're doing something about it. You know, if you don't, when you don't have vision that is aligned with your why, because a vision is actually influenced by the why. What am I talking about? Your why. Why do you do anything that you do? What the critical why behind your vision makes everything in alignment, and it makes your goals and it makes your activities make a lot of sense. Here's how vision actually aligns you. Let me show you a picture of this. So if this is a line and this is what alignment is, your vision that's actually based on your why is the first place. See that most people don't start with why. You know where they start? They start with, I need to get out and make money. I need to make money. I need to do this. I need to hustle. I need to get this thing out of the way. They're not really on the why. On the why, they're on the activity of making money. Or sometimes they're like, and they have like short-term little things, short-term little fixes. Like, I need to get another vehicle. I need to get a bigger house. I need to get whatever. I need to be able to accommodate certain things. So they don't actually go after vision. They go after short-term goals as their priority, or they go after activities. How many of us, and I'm not saying it's a wrong thing, I'm saying that one of the things that was important is that we wanted to take care of our families better, or we wanted to do something. And then we ended up not having a long-term vision for our family. And we took a job that sucked, took a job that paid pretty well, but we hated our life every day. Or it took all of our joy away. Or listen to this. The person who goes out and works their butt off at work comes home and they got nothing left for their kids. And they feel terrible because their primary value, if you really ask them what was most important, is that dad is involved in their kid's life, is that mom is involved in their kid's life, but they sacrificed that picture for whatever else was also a good thing. See, these are people, what ends up happening is that when you're aligned and you're doing activities, you may never achieve your vision. When you're just doing goals, you might, again, get to accomplishing some things. You might visibly have some improvements and increases in your life, but it's never going to look like the life that you really believe that it should look. What did we say? In the wheel of life. Maybe that area is your health. Maybe that area is your finances. Maybe that area is your children. Maybe that is your marriage. Maybe it is whatever your greater purpose on the planet, what you're here to actually do, how you're here to change the world. See, all of those things have to be in balance. Like, we have to fully live, but we need to know what our why is behind that and live into it. Because when you have your why in order, your why does something for you. Your why actually begins to inform and lead to goals. See, your goals aren't what leads you. Your vision is what leads you. And your vision is all about why, because your why are the things that are most important to you. But see, the other thing that happens as well is that once you have goals, you know what ends up happening is that your goals flow as well. Your goals lead to actions in your life. So do you see how the alignment actually works? Is that when you work on yourself and you know what's most important, what your why is. Most people don't start there because most people don't know their why. Most people don't know what's most important to them. But when you do, then you know what? It simplifies everything. You know what? I'm not going to do actions that take me out of alignment with my vision. I'm not going to keep doing actions as well that don't help me get to my vision. I'm not going to keep setting goals that unless they are fully aligned with my vision. So I understand that to be vision-led means that I start with why. And here's the thing, is that your work that you did last week can actually be very helpful. Is that the stuff that could be, should be, must be are all attached to a why. There's something that's really deeply important to you. And if you don't know what it is, then you need to actually do the work, because you know what ends up happening is that actually after you do the work and you completely know what your why is, like sometimes we make decisions and you're like, this decision, I think it just kind of feels right. I'm not really certain, but my gut's kind of telling me that maybe this is the right decision. Or we're so conflicted and we can't make a decision. You know what your why does? Your why helps make the decisions clear. Like someone who struggles in making decisions, and for some of you who will not make a clear, irrevocable decision towards your vision, it's because you don't know what's most important to you right now. And you won't claim that thing is your possession. You've got to possess vision. You can't just possess actions. You can't just possess goals. You have to possess the picture of the way it all plays out. Because here's the other thing. My goals can change. My actions can change. You know what? My goals and my actions serve my vision. And there might be 100 different ways to actually get there. You know what? Goals do change. Plans do change. Actions do change. Tactics change all the time. That's not what's most important to me. What's most important to me is that I know what that picture looks like because my values have influenced it. And it's really clear what's most important. And you know what? I don't have to suffer over a job that I quit. I don't have to suffer over a career that I invested 10 years of learning and 10 years of work in. I don't suffer over those things. I remember the first time that I was up against this is when I was in college. I got into a prestigious medical program as I think I was maybe 19 years old, maybe 20. Now, here's the thing: is that they didn't let people in that age group get into that program for a few different reasons. One is because they wanted to see maturity. One is that you really wanted to have a momentum of education and get things under your belt. There are all these different reasons, but I'm the only kid that they ended up letting into the thing. And after I worked, and I had the grades, I was doing everything. I had the clinical stuff going. I was working in hospitals. And you know what I learned when I started working in the hospital? Because there were certain things, there were certain comparisons to individuals in my family, because there's people in my family who are in the medical field. There were certain individuals that I really looked up to, that I aspired to be like. And there were all these different things. And granted, there was the money thing and there was the prestige and all this other stuff. But after I started working in the hospital, I was like, I hate working with sick people. Like, I hate it. I hate everything about all of this stuff, except for the prestige and being smart in the classroom and everything else. I grew increasingly like, I really don't like this. Now, I didn't have 10 years in the thing, but I did have a couple of years where where I studied and I did a lot of different things. And obviously, there's these classes that will not transfer to do anything for me because they were completely into biological sciences and anatomy and physiology and all of this other stuff. I'd literally been treating patients at this point in my clinical work. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I had to go and look people in the eyes who believed in me and disappoint them. I had to look at certain family members in the eyes and said, I've made all of this financial investment. I know you believed in me. I've got all this momentum, but I can't do this. And I altered my degree entirely. And you know what? It actually took me a lot longer to graduate from school. Matter of fact, I had to take a year off from school and make some money and all this other stuff. I went on the long track around this. And you know what I would say? It was all completely worth it. And it's not the first time that I've done it. I've done it with careers a couple of times. I've done it after being married and having children. You know what? Me and my wife did it when I wasn't really making that much money. I was making about $32,000 a year. And my wife says, I feel like right now in this season, because I haven't been, we're about to have this child. I feel like our greatest value is for me to be with her. And you know what? We didn't take much time on the decision. You know what? Quit this job. I don't know how we're going to make it on $32,000 a year and 2 kids and all of this other stuff that's going on. But we made that decision. I made that decision again with a major career change coming into coaching. I'm just telling you that at a certain point, you have to understand is that when your values guide you, when vision guides you, it leads you to changing actions and changing goals. What you can see is a track record of, hey, for 20 plus years, I can see how I've been helping people and showing up in their life and doing certain kinds of things. At the end of it, after all these years, I can see convergence in my life and I can say, yeah, and I've always been doing this, and this has always been aligned with my purpose. And for a while there, that wasn't. And we made bold decisions, sometimes costly decisions, at least in the short term, to make things happen. But this is what vision does. Vision is, when you're vision led, is choosing not to be fear led. It's choosing not to be security led by whatever your finances or your bank account is saying. We at one time we downgraded all the way into a barely 700 square foot cottage with 1 bathroom. And we had 1 vehicle that didn't really run that well. We downgraded as much as we possibly could because there were certain things that we saw in our life that we were here to do, and it was worth the risk. Yes, it was really hard. Worn out jeans. You should have seen the way that I looked when I was first starting my coaching career. I got a scooter so that we had a second vehicle, and I would drive to meet high-end clients at coffee shops with one pair of dress pants and two dress shirts that I would alternate. One was blue and one was white. And what I counted on is that people would kind of look at me like attorneys seem to wear the same thing every day. That's what I kind of hope, that no one would notice that I'm always wearing the same outfits. And it was worth it. We're here today talking because of the sacrifices that knowing what most important is leads you to. And my wife and I are not done with sacrifices. We're always living on the edge of being a little bit unsettled. You know why? Because we understand that settling may be the worst thing when it comes to actually living into our purpose. There are certain things that I would say right now are stable for my family and put in order for my kids if something happened to me. But I would say outside of those things right there, there's a certain degree of unsettledness in our life right now that if we needed to move to Africa tomorrow, we would go and do it, because we understand that the calling and purpose on our life, it has to submit to security and fears and personality types and all those things. So as we're leaving, let me give you just some tips on how do you actually find your why. Here's the first thing. First of all, do a values assessment. If you have not done a values assessment at this stage in your life, you really need to. Because what you have to understand is that your why is actually connected to the part of your brain that controls emotions, but it doesn't control language. So that when you feel something, you know that you are onto something. What am I even saying in all this? Well, here's one way that you can do it. There's a lot of different ways. I would not recommend taking an online assessment that says values, because they're all terrible. What I would say is, like, there's this tool called the One Core Values, but there's a lot of them. You can find a word bank with all of these things. Like, you'll see all these words in it: travel, nature. I'm just letting them drop. Fairness, justice. There's all these different things that it might say. You really only live your life out of 4 primary whys or core values in your life. When you know what those things are, it really simplifies and makes your decisions easy and aligns your life, because what you understand is this part of your brain that helps you understand what your why is not the language portion of your brain. It's part of this like limbic system or whatever. And basically it's a lot of feeling. Because what I would say is that if fairness is a value of yours, if it's part of your why, fairness feels like something. Like for me, achievement is one of my primaries. What is it about achievement? How do I know that that's my value? I actually seek achievement, and I have in my life for many, many years. But achievement actually feels like something. Like it's a certain state of being that all of us are actually pursuing in our life. I don't want achievement because I want to achieve things. I want achievement because it feels like something. For those of you who want security in your life, you don't really want security. You want security because it feels like something. You don't even want money. You want money because of what it gives you that is part of the value. Maybe it's security. Maybe it's something with your family. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's attached to achievement. Finances were never attached to achievement for me. I found those in different kinds of ways. So we can differ on those different things. What I'm saying is that when you can connect it into your emotions, that is a really great way to actually understand this thing. Because anything you want in your life is actually attached to a feeling. There's a state of being that you'll always feel. Now, here's another thing that I'll say. When you look at any part of your life, this is another way that you can find your why. When you look at any part of your life and you think of a picture of what it could look like, fully beautiful, fully manifested, why does it need to look like that? When you can think of that picture, you can probably connect a why with it. Why does it have to look like this with your family? Why does it have to look like this with your spouse? Why does it have to look like something with your career? All of those kinds of things. What does it feel like? What does it feel like to achieve that? To completely live into that? What does it feel like to never live into that? To know that you would never live into that? You know what those feelings are going to tell you? It's going to help you strike a nerve with what is most important. It's going to help you strike a nerve with the why. Here's the last thing that I'll give you. Is that one thing that you can do is that you can find a good friend or a person that you work with. somebody who can think about the times when you are at your best. And sometimes what you can do with these people, and every now and then it can be a close friend or a family member, but what you really want is that you want somebody who can give you a metaphor for. I'll give you an example, and this is what I'll close with. In my life, what I would say my adult life, which I really did not, I really don't feel like began until I got married. Like whatever was happening, there was something adultish that happened when I got married, and I don't know what that was exactly. Besides the fact that I wasn't living selfishly anymore, but I feel like my adult life did not begin until I got married. And then after I got married, my wife and I did life, and we've moved, and we've had accomplishments and different kinds of things that have happened. But if I look back, it's not really been hard for me to figure out what my why is. But one of the things that has helped me over the years is friends and different people who I've met through the years who can tell me what kind of an impact I have on their life. What do they think about when they think of me? In many cases, people think in pictures. Like if you ask somebody, they probably couldn't really put it into a definition or a sentence, but they might be able to think of it in a picture. That's why I say a metaphor. Hey, if you think of me, what picture do you think of? And come up with 3 different pictures about me. And you know what they're going to do? They're usually going to embody some things about you. Um, if I go back and I'll capture a lot of these things. I've literally recorded people who started saying something encouraging to me, and I said, "Wait a minute, let me get my phone. I want to record this because I want to remember it." And I have all of these through the years, and I could share with you. I could play the audio of you for you right now, where people said, "You know, Paul, when I see you, I see like a catapult, and it's like you catapult people into what they were made for." I know that's what you did for me. Another person said, "I see you like a slingshot." Interesting how the metaphors are the same. See, like a slingshot that you shoot people into stuff. Another person who just a couple of months ago, she was a young 20 something. She says, "Every time I look at you, you know what? The picture I get is like it's like you're building a wall, but all of these stones are different sizes, and you help people find out exactly where they're supposed to be based on their fit." And I'm like, "That's beautiful." Like some of my first training was all around those kinds of things. And what did I learn from these pictures that people would give me? It was really connecting me with the vision, with the purpose, and my why every time. It resonated because when people say this is how you know that you're getting on the why is when they say something and the hair stands up on your arms and you're like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize I had that kind of an impact. Wow, I didn't realize that was that important to that person." And you know what you'll end up finding is that when they talk about who you are as a friend, who you are as a mom, who you are as a worker and everything else, you know what you'll end up tracing it to? You can probably get your values assessment and you can probably find the word that was most important, that you know what, you are fully starting to live into that value because people are noticing it in you. When you get what those 4 or 5 core values, which can be defined in a lot of different ways, now we can start applying it to the vision. And you know what we start doing? We start setting goals and we start setting activities based on due north in our life, because it's really given detail to what that picture looks like. The picture of what it looks like and how living into it really makes sense. I want to say hi to a few different people, but let me pay the bills really quickly. For those of you who have not gotten trained and certified as a coach, and that is your vision in your life, inside the link in the description of this video is a link to our Jumpstart program. What's the Jumpstart program? Well, for those of you who have not gotten trained and certified, Jumpstart really includes almost all of our programs. So what you're able to do is get trained and certified as a life coach. You also get a live weekend boot camp, which, by the way, boot camp is going to be May 20th through the 22nd. So it's this month in just a couple of weeks. And what you're able to do in Jumpstart, we give you 40 core modules that give you the steps on how do you define your target market, how do you define your niche, how do you attract clients, how do you sell. We give you 13 hours alone that's just on writing marketing messaging for your website, design, all of those kinds of things. One of the things that we do in supplementing all these things that we give you is that we have a weekly group coaching call where we have amazing coaches who are part of this program that we all gather together. And we give you feedback on anything that you're working on, whether it's your website, your messaging, you're struggling with a client. We answer questions there, and we also give you feedback on anything that you're working on, because you never have to feel like you're doing this thing alone. I know what that felt like. I hated that feeling. You don't have to start your coaching practice alone. Now, I told you boot camp is part of this. So I will tell you, Jumpstart's $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. You can cancel anytime after 3 months, but $97 a month isn't much. It's the cost of Starbucks every day. If you were just going to get trained and certified only, you want a leg up and you want to get the skills. Well, boot camp's actually part of Jumpstart. And let me just tell you what boot camp's going to cover. Here's some of the things that boot camp's going to cover. What it's coaching, the 4 lenses of a first-class coach, the steps of a coaching session, a coaching framework that gets results, focused, effective coaching that cuts out the fluff, how to help your clients maintain motivation, 2 models of coaching, core skills and characteristics for breakthrough coaching, best practices for ethical coaching, how to ask powerful questions, how to build coaching relationships that last, and what to include in coaching agreements. Now, one thing that's different from our life coach certification course is that it's all material that is beyond what you've learned there. So if you've been in the training course or the certification course, everything that we're teaching over the weekend's really not a repeat of those things. It is live. It's expanded training. It's 7 sessions. So we do a Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. There's a Q&A at the end of each session so that we're going to make sure that you stay clear on everything that we're going through. And we also have role playing. So we demo everything that we're learning. You'll get to participate as a coach or a client. You also get replays for at least 90 days. Now, you can audit boot camp anytime you want after you actually take boot camp. It's $247, or I'm going to show you what I would do instead of paying $247. You know what? If you do Jumpstart, it's $97 a month. So why would you pay $247 when in 3 months of Jumpstart, that's $291? And you get all the business development help, and you get boot camp, and you get trained and certified, and everything else. So just want to put that out there. It's an incredible steal. It's worth thousands of dollars a month, and you're getting it for $97 a month. Let me say hello to a few people on here that have said hello to me that I didn't get to earlier. Let's see. And Marie from Phoenix, hello. Lisa from Bel Air, Maryland. Diane from South Carolina. There's Roxana, welcome. And there's Vicky from Binghamton, welcome. Let's see, who else do I need to say hello to? Anybody else that I need to say hello? Marsha from Trinidad says this session on vision is so profound. Thanks, Paul. You are so welcome. Oh, it's so good to see the feedback. Thank you so much for the feedback. I appreciate that. And there's Shekinah. Welcome, Shekinah. Who else do I need to say hello to? Raz, how's it going, Raz? Jen, who says, interesting, I just coached a client with this framework today. Way to go, Jen. I appreciate that. And Jen says, Paul, you're a visionary. Thank you. Oh, I got some amens going on. I didn't realize that I had the choir today. That's so awesome. Let's see. Who else do I need to say hello to? Maybe that is it. Lynn says Jumpstart is an excellent program. Thanks so much. Awesome. Does anybody else want to say hello or any questions? I'm about 30 seconds ahead of you, and more than willing to answer any question that you have. Otherwise, we are going to head out for the day. Anyone? All right. Listen, if you didn't jot down those questions, the replay is available pretty much immediately. Jot down those vision questions that are based on finding your why. Put that to work. Put that to use. If you haven't gotten trained and certified as a coach, that link is inside the description. You can get more information, and we're more than happy to answer that for you. Lynn says, what are the hours of boot camp? It's going to be hard for me to spill those out on here. What I'd encourage you to do is email us, or the easiest thing is if you follow this link, you can go on our website, and the link says live online certification or whatever, and the full weekend, because I also don't even know those hours off the top of my head. The full schedule's on there for Pacific time, Central time, and Eastern time, and that'll simplify life. All right, you are welcome. All right, everybody. Well, we are going to head out of here. I appreciate you immensely. Have a great rest of your week. Do me a favor, like this, share it, and it'll tell Facebook and other people and YouTube that we're doing a good job. Appreciate it. Have a great one.